14 children disappeared from Sacred Heart Orphanage between 1862 and 1865. No adoptions. No records. Just gone. Some said they ran away. Others believed they were dead. But recently uncovered letters between a mother superior and a powerful bishop reveal something even worse. These children weren't lost. They were sold. If you're brave enough to uncover America's darkest secrets, the ones buried deep beneath faith, power, and silence, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and let us know in the comments what state you're watching from. Because the truth doesn't hide forever. Let's begin. Part 1. The first to vanish. In the quiet countryside of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, during the chaos of the Civil War, stood a tall brick building with sharp towers and heavy wooden doors. It was called Sacred Heart Orphanage, and it looked more like a fortress than a home. Built in 1859 by Catholic nuns known as the Sisters of Mercy, it held nearly 60 Irish Catholic children by the spring of 1862. Most had lost their parents to sickness, accidents, or war. They came from the crowded streets of Philadelphia or from families who died building the railroads. The orphanage was run by Mother Catherine O'Malley, a strong Irish woman in her 40s who had come to America with nothing but her faith and determination. Her orphanage was a lifeline for these poor children, but even lifelines can have dark knots. The children wore plain gray uniforms. They worked in the gardens, cooked food, cleaned floors, and attended church daily. Life was strict, but they were safe, or so it seemed. Behind the scenes, things were falling apart. The war had made money tight. Local Protestant farmers didn't trust the Catholic sisters. Some refused to sell food to the orphanage. Others charged extra just because the children were Irish and Catholic. Then came Father Michael Brennan. He was young, charming, and different from the old Irish priests the orphanage had known before. Born in Philadelphia and trained in the city's best Catholic seminary, he didn't have an accent, and he knew how to talk to everyone, Protestants and Catholics alike. To the farmers, he was smooth and respectful. To the sisters, he brought hope. He also brought something else. One rainy May morning in 1862, 14-year-old Timothy Walsh was working in the garden when Father Brennan introduced him to Mr. Ezra Hoffman, a wealthy Protestant wheat farmer. Father Brennan said Timothy would help Hoffman's farm during planting season. Hoffman handed Brennan a sack of gold coins, $45, a huge sum back then, and took Timothy away in a horse-drawn wagon. Father Brennan said the boy would return after the harvest. But Timothy never came back. A few days later, Margaret Connolly, 16 years old and fluent in Latin and German, was taken by Mrs. Zimmerman, the wife of another wealthy farmer. This time, the payment was $60. Then came more placements. Patrick Murphy, 13, to a merchant in Lancaster for $50. Bridget O'Brien, 15, to a banker's home in Columbia for $75. Sean McMahon, only 12, to a mill owner who needed help with horses. Each time, the price went higher. Each time, the child disappeared. By the end of summer, 8 children were gone. The orphanage suddenly had new clothes, paid off its debts, and even built a small addition. Mother O'Malley praised Father Brennan's work. The sisters began to relax. Except one. Sister Agnes Flanagan, the orphanage treasurer, wasn't so sure. She noticed something strange. The children who had been sent away never wrote back. That had never happened before. In earlier years, placed children would send letters or return visits. But now, silence. Worried, she tried visiting Timothy at the Hoffman farm. A worker turned her away, saying Timothy was too busy. That didn't sit right with her. The truth began to unfold in October 1862. At the Lancaster market, Sister Agnes spotted Mrs. Hoffman, the farmer's wife. She asked how Timothy was doing. But Mrs. Hoffman looked confused. Who? She asked. We don't employ orphans, she added quickly. All our workers are local men. Sister Agnes felt her stomach drop. She had watched Timothy leave in the Hoffman's wagon with her own eyes. Now Mrs. Hoffman claimed he was never there. That night, She confronted Father Brennan. She demanded to see the records. She wanted proof that the children were safe. At first, Brennan smiled and brushed her off. But when she said she would write to the bishop in Philadelphia, his smile vanished. His tone grew cold. "These are hard times, sister," he said. "We must do what's needed for the greater good." She stared at him. "What sacrifice?" she asked. "What have you done with those children?" He leaned forward slowly. "They've been placed with good Protestant families," he said. "Families who can teach them work, give them food, shelter, skills. In return, those families support the orphanage generously." "You sold them," she whispered. "Didn't you?" Father Brennan didn't deny it. Instead, he gave her a choice. "Stay loyal," he warned, "or destroy everything we've built." Sister Agnes felt a chill deeper than any Pennsylvania winter. In her heart, she knew, the children hadn't been placed. They had been sold. To be continued. I in speech bubble want more. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and join us next week as we uncover part 2, A Letter Never Sent. Comment below, what do you think happened to Timothy, Margaret, and the rest? Have you ever heard a true story this chilling from America's past? Would you like me to begin writing part 2 next? Part 2, The Ones Who Never Came Back. As the snow fell quietly across the fields of Lancaster County in the winter of 1862, a cold truth settled in Sister Agnes's heart. The children weren't adopted. They weren't indentured. They were sold. She began to understand the awful truth. Sacred Heart Orphanage wasn't just placing children in homes. It had become part of a hidden network. Wealthy Protestant families were paying large sums to take in Irish Catholic children, not to love them, but to work them like animals. The children hadn't just vanished from the orphanage. They had vanished from the world. Each night, Sister Agnes lay awake, tormented by guilt. She had sworn to protect these children. But now, 8 of them were gone. And no one, not even the church, seemed to care. Mother O'Malley, still proud of the orphanage's financial turnaround, trusted Father Brennan completely. When Sister Agnes questioned the silence from the missing children, Mother O'Malley gave a calm answer. "Protestant families don't like their workers staying tied to Catholic places. We must let go, trust that God is leading them to better lives." But Sister Agnes couldn't believe that anymore. Especially not when Father Brennan started selecting new children. He called them evaluations. He'd walk through the orphanage, inspecting the children, checking their height, strength, and hands. He focused on the newest arrivals from Philadelphia, children who had no deep friendships and wouldn't be missed as much. One by one, he was choosing who would be next. He also started talking about expanding. He wanted to include other Catholic orphanages across Pennsylvania. He said it would help them survive and meet labor needs in the countryside. To Sister Agnes, it sounded like a well-organized human trafficking system. Catholic institutions needed money. Protestant farmers needed cheap workers. Father Brennan had built a business that met both needs, at the children's expense. Back in the dormitories, the younger children felt it too. The air had changed. They whispered to each other at night, asking where the others had gone. 10-year-old Mary Catherine Donovan, who had been close to Margaret Connolly, began having terrible nightmares. She'd wake up crying and shaking, begging the sisters not to let anyone take her away. "They're not coming back, are they?" she whispered one night to Sister Agnes. "Timothy, Margaret, they're gone forever." And deep inside, Sister Agnes feared that was true. As winter turned to spring, she knew she had to act. Quietly, she began keeping a secret notebook. She wrote down every child who had been placed, names, ages, hair color, and which families had taken them. She also started asking new children from Philadelphia if they had siblings or friends who'd gone missing from other orphanages. What she discovered shocked her. This wasn't just happening at Sacred Heart. It was happening in other Catholic homes, across Pennsylvania, maybe even beyond. Then, one March morning in 1863, someone arrived who would change everything. Bishop Francis Kenrick of Philadelphia appeared at the orphanage gates, unannounced. To most, it looked like a normal inspection. But Sister Agnes quickly saw through that. The bishop's sharp eyes missed nothing. He asked questions about children, records, and financial accounts. Father Brennan gave his usual smooth answers. He showed off the new building wing. He talked about placements, donations, and efficiency. But then the bishop asked, "Can I see the placement records?" Suddenly, Brennan's smile slipped. "There, stored in Lancaster," he said. "I'll have them here in a few days." "No," said the bishop. "I need them before I leave tomorrow morning." That night, while Father Brennan scrambled in his office to create fake records, Sister Agnes made her move. She knocked quietly on the bishop's door and asked for a private meeting. In the small library, lit only by a single oil lamp, she told the truth. She handed over her notebook. She described the day she saw Timothy leave with Mr. Hoffman. She explained how every placement matched a financial donation. She told him about the fear in the children's eyes, and the silence that followed their departure. The bishop listened, his face grave and cold. When she finished, he asked one question. "Sister Agnes, if we follow this to the end, Sacred Heart may be closed. The church's name may be dragged through the mud. Are you ready for that?" She nodded. "I made a vow to protect them. We failed, but I won't fail again." The bishop said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Tomorrow morning, you will join me when I confront Father Brennan. Bring your notes. We'll find the truth, no matter the cost." But someone else had already sensed the storm coming. That night, Father Brennan noticed Sister Agnes avoiding his gaze during prayers. He saw her meeting privately with the bishop. And he acted. He gathered his most important papers, filled a satchel with stolen money, nearly $300, and disappeared into the night. By morning, he was gone. In his room, they found only a short note claiming he had been called to serve as a military chaplain. No mention of the missing children. No mention of the families. Nothing. The bishop was furious, but also certain. Brennan's escape proved the accusations were true. The bishop launched a full investigation. Church investigators fanned across Pennsylvania, following every lead. And what they found was worse than anyone imagined. Brennan hadn't acted alone. Other priests were involved. Children were being sold across multiple counties. Some children had been moved to other states. Many children were found, living as slaves. Others were never found at all. Then came the worst discovery. At a farm in Chester County, investigators found 3 children buried in unmarked graves. The farmer claimed they had died of fever. But the coroner's report showed something else. Starvation, bruises, broken ribs. The farmer, under pressure, confessed. He had bought the children from Father Brennan. When they grew too sick to work, he let them die. Then he buried them quietly. And just like that, they were gone. To be continued. In Part 3 of Sacred Heart Orphanage, The Ones Who Survived, we'll follow the search for more missing children, and the dark truth uncovered at a Mennonite farm deep in Lancaster County. If you're still with us, it means you're strong enough to face the truth. So subscribe, like, and comment your state below. These children deserve to be remembered. And their stories must be told. Would you like me to start writing Part 3 now? Part 3. The truth comes out. Just when we thought things couldn't get any darker, the truth took an even more disturbing turn. If this story is giving you chills, share this video with someone who loves dark mysteries. Tap the like button to support our work, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Now, let's find out what happened when federal agents finally caught up with Father Brennan, and uncovered how far his crimes really went. In October 1863, federal marshals found Father Michael Brennan hiding at a Union Army camp near Gettysburg. He had changed his name and grown a beard, pretending to be a chaplain named Father Patrick Murphy from Boston. But his strong Pennsylvania accent and his deep knowledge of Latin prayers gave him away. At first, Brennan denied everything. He said he was helping Catholic children find better lives with Protestant families who needed help on farms. But the truth was far more evil. Investigators had already found proof. At least 47 children from Sacred Heart and other orphanages had been sold like property across Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia. Brennan finally broke under pressure and confessed. He had started the trafficking network himself. He saw that many Protestant families would pay a lot of money for children they could control. So, he convinced other priests to join him. Brennan told them the money, over $15,000 in total, would help Catholic institutions survive the hardships of the Civil War. The children were chosen based on their age, health, and how alone they were in the world. Strong older children were sent to do hard labor. Younger ones were used as house servants or farmhands. Children with no relatives were preferred, because no one would come looking for them. They had no future anyway, Brennan told investigators, coldly. This way, they were at least useful. They helped the church. Thanks to his confession, authorities were able to rescue 11 of the missing children. They were found working on farms in 3 different states. But 6 children, including red-haired Timothy Walsh and smart, multilingual Margaret Connolly, were still missing. Some had been taken west, far from federal reach. Others were in families that claimed the children had run away or died, though they had no proof. The investigators found something even worse. Some children were not bought for labor at all. 3 had been sold to a rich man in Philadelphia who kept them locked in his mansion, isolated from the world. 2 others were sent to a plantation in Virginia, where they worked alongside enslaved African Americans. Catholic children being treated like slaves. But the most horrifying discovery was this: at least 3 children had been sold for what the records called personal service. Investigators believed this meant sexual exploitation. The details were so awful, the court sealed the files for over 100 years. Brennan kept detailed notes. It was like a shopping catalog of children. He wrote down each child's name, age, appearance, skills, even their personality. Buyers could choose which child they wanted, and prices changed depending on the child's strength and obedience. When Mother Superior Catherine O'Malley saw the evidence, she broke down completely. She had truly believed Brennan was helping the children. The truth destroyed her. She was removed from the orphanage and spent the rest of her life in a convent hospital, unable to speak clearly ever again. Sister Agnes, who had tried to expose the crimes, was filled with guilt. She wished she had spoken out sooner. She left Sacred Heart and moved south, where she spent the rest of her life helping freed slaves, trying to make up for her silence. Father Brennan's trial became one of the most famous court cases of the Civil War. The government said his crimes were just as evil as slavery. The defense said Brennan had just made a mistake. But the stories from the rescued children made it clear, this was no mistake. It was a system of abuse. Sean McMahon said he worked 18 hours a day and was beaten when he got tired. His sister Ellen described sleeping in a freezing shed with ice on her blanket. Bridget O'Sullivan, just 12 years old, said she slept on the kitchen floor and was locked in a root cellar without food after trying to escape. Brennan never showed any remorse. He told the court he had done what was necessary to help the church during wartime. His only regret, that he couldn't help more children. The jury took less than 2 hours to find him guilty. He got 20 years in prison. His fellow priests received between 5 and 15 years. The judge said their crimes were a betrayal of all that is sacred. Sacred Heart Orphanage never recovered. It was shut down in 1864. The building changed hands but was abandoned soon after. Locals said it was cursed. People heard children's voices at night and saw lights in the empty windows. The land was eventually turned into a cemetery. In 1925, a small granite marker was placed there. It reads, "In memory of the innocent children who suffered here. May they find in death the peace that was denied them in life." Father Brennan died in prison in 1881. His grave was unmarked. His name was left off all records. Some of the missing children were never found. Timothy Walsh may have been seen in Ohio, but the trail went cold. Margaret Connolly was spotted once in Virginia, but disappeared again. Others simply vanished into America's growing frontier. No names, no graves, no justice. Their pain didn't end with rescue. Many of the saved children suffered mental scars for the rest of their lives. Some ran away from new orphanages. They no longer trusted adults, especially those in religious robes. This scandal changed America forever. New laws forced religious institutions to follow strict rules. Orphanages had to keep careful records and submit to regular inspections. It was too late for the Sacred Heart children, but it helped stop other trafficking rings from growing. But the damage was done. Catholic and Protestant trust was broken. For many, this scandal confirmed their worst fears about religious institutions. Sister Agnes' notes were found decades later. In them, she had carefully written down every detail about each child, what they looked like, what they dreamed of, what they feared. Next to Timothy Walsh's name, she wrote, "Red hair, freckles, scar on left hand, wanted to be a teacher, afraid of storms, last seen June 15, 1862. God forgive us all. No one knows what really happened to Timothy or the others. Maybe they died. Maybe they lived under new names, always hiding from their past. But we must never forget them. They were caught in a storm of war, poverty, and cruelty. They were betrayed by those who claimed to protect them. Their story reminds us, even the most trusted institutions can hide terrible secrets." So, what do you think? Were all the secrets truly uncovered? Or are there still answers buried in Pennsylvania's hills? Tell us in the comments. Do you think any of the missing children might have survived? If this story shocked you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Tap the like button to support our research. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the next video, we'll reveal another dark secret that powerful people hoped would stay buried forever. The truth is always worse than we imagine, and more important than we know. Would you like me to continue formatting the rest of the parts in this style? Part 4. The Forgotten Girl in the Wall. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more real horror stories from history. What you're about to hear is one of the most disturbing parts of the Sacred Heart case. And yet, almost no one talks about it. It begins in the spring of 1921. A construction crew was hired to renovate the old Sacred Heart Orphanage building. It had been abandoned for decades, left to rot in silence. The plan was to turn it into a community hall, something positive for the town of Auburn, Pennsylvania. But during the second week of repairs, one worker knocked down a false wall on the third floor. Behind it, in the darkness, was something no one expected. A child's skeleton. The bones were curled up, as if the child had died in fear. There was no casket, no marker. Just a small, rotted nightgown and a tiny silver cross still hanging around the neck. The room was no more than 2 feet wide, barely big enough to lie down. There was no window, no air vent. Just 4 walls and silence. Police were called immediately. Forensic experts of the time said the bones likely belonged to a girl between 10 and 12 years old. She had probably been dead for at least 50 years. In her hand, she clutched a rolled-up piece of cloth. It was later identified as an old doll's dress, carefully stitched by hand. Some believed it was the only thing she had to comfort her before she died. No name, no cause of death, no record of a missing girl. Just silence. But one clue changed everything. On the back of the silver cross were tiny engraved letters. Faded, but still readable. M.C. Margaret Connolly. The same girl who had vanished from Sacred Heart in 1862. A bright, bilingual orphan with no living relatives. One of the 6 who were never found. Investigators were stunned. Could she have been hidden inside the orphanage all this time? Had she died before ever being taken away? But the real question was, why would anyone hide her? Old nuns still alive in 1921 were questioned. Most had joined the convent after Sacred Heart closed. But one, Sister Bernadette, was in her 80s and remembered, the girl with many tongues. That's what they called Margaret, because she could speak English, Irish, Latin, and even some French. She asked too many questions, the old nun whispered. Father Brennan didn't like that. From what little could be pieced together, Margaret had discovered something she wasn't supposed to. Some believed she overheard Brennan talking about where the children were being sent. Others thought she had kept a secret journal, which has never been found. One thing is clear. She disappeared shortly after telling Sister Agnes that the basement is wrong. It's not for storage, it's for them. That was in June of 1862. 3 days later, Margaret was gone. The nuns were told she had been adopted by a family in New York. But no such record ever existed. And now, nearly 60 years later, her body was found inside the building she was supposed to have left. Historians believe she was hidden away, locked inside the wall to silence her. Maybe Brennan or another priest walled her in. Maybe she was left to die slowly, in the dark. Her body showed no signs of injury. It's likely she died from starvation, alone and terrified. Her death was never reported. No one ever came looking for her. The church denied any knowledge. Even worse, after the discovery, the church tried to take back the building, saying it was holy ground and should not be turned into a community center. Locals were furious. Town newspapers ran the headline, "Girl in the Wall, Church tries to bury her again." Under pressure, the church gave up. Margaret's remains were buried in a private ceremony, attended by townspeople. A small plaque was placed at the site. "Margaret Connolly, you were never forgotten. May you rest in the light." But the story doesn't end there. Just weeks after the burial, strange things started happening in town. Lights flickering at the orphanage. Tools going missing. A soft humming heard at night from the 3rd floor. One worker claimed he saw a girl in a nightgown standing by the window, but when he ran upstairs, no one was there. Others reported dreams about a red-haired girl whispering, "It's still under the floor." Some believed Margaret's spirit was restless, not just because of her own death, but because she knew there were others still hidden. Then, a group of local teens, curious after hearing the rumors, broke into the orphanage late one night. They found something no one else had discovered. Under the chapel floorboards, near the old pulpit, they found bones. Small bones. Human. More than one set. Police were called once again. Excavation revealed 4 more children, buried under the floor with no caskets, just rags. There were no headstones, no names. They were never documented. No one had known they were missing. Only Margaret may have known, and she died trying to tell someone. It was then that a dark truth became clear. Some children were never sold. Some never left. They were buried in secret, under the place they had prayed, slept, and begged for help. Their voices were silenced, but their bones told the truth. Since then, the orphanage has been completely sealed off. No one is allowed to enter. But people still say they hear soft knocking from behind the 3rd floor walls. Some claim to hear a child crying in Latin. Others report hearing a voice whisper, "I told you, the basement is wrong." So what really happened to Margaret Connolly? Was she just one of many children murdered to protect a secret? And how many more are still hidden, beneath crumbling bricks and silent stone? What do you think? Tell us in the comments. Was the girl in the wall a victim of cruelty, or a hero who died trying to speak the truth? If this story chilled you, tap the like button to show respect for the forgotten. Share this with a friend who needs to know the truth. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the next episode, we'll go even deeper into the horror of Sacred Heart. Next, we uncover the journal of Sister Agnes, and the warning she left behind before her mysterious disappearance. You won't believe what she wrote. Would you like the part 5 next? Part 5. Sister Agnes's Secret Journal. Before we begin, remember to like, subscribe, and share this story. These are not just tales, they are warnings. What you're about to hear comes straight from the hands of someone who lived through the darkness of Sacred Heart Orphanage. Her name was Sister Agnes Monroe, and she may have known everything. She arrived at Sacred Heart in the winter of 1859, just 19 years old. Born in rural Maryland, she joined the convent young, hoping to dedicate her life to faith and service. But what she found inside Sacred Heart was far from holy. At first, she was quiet and obedient. She followed the rules, helped care for the children, and taught basic reading. But over time, she began noticing strange things: children disappearing overnight, locked doors in the basement, whispers in Latin from the older priests. She was told not to ask questions. But she did, and that's why her journal was hidden for over 60 years. In 1924, during repairs to the chapel roof, a worker found a metal box sealed under a loose floorboard in the choir loft. Inside was a water-damaged journal, its leather cover worn, its pages faded. It was signed, Sister Agnes M., Sacred Heart Orphanage. To be found after I am gone. The entries are disturbing. March 12, 1860. Father Brennan said Margaret Connolly is too curious. He told me to stop her from asking about the lower rooms. I tried. She smiled and said, God gave me a mind. I'll use it. I fear for her. April 2, 1860. The other sisters pretend not to see. Children are brought into the rectory late at night and never return. Sister Martha told me to stay quiet if I value my vows. But how can I stay silent? We are supposed to protect them. May 9, 1861. I heard weeping in the walls again. Not the kind from nightmares, the real kind. A child crying for their mother, muffled by stone. I knocked. The sound stopped. I prayed, but I don't think God listens to this place anymore. June 14, 1862. Margaret is gone. They said she was adopted. I know that's a lie. Her doll was still in her bed, and her shoes were under the pew. She would never leave them. I think they took her to the hidden room. July 1, 1862. I followed Father Brennan to the basement. There's a door beneath the altar I had never seen before. It leads to stairs. He had a candle, but I stayed in the dark. I saw cages. Small ones. And hooks. God forgive me, but something lives under this place. August 3, 1863. I wrote to the bishop. I begged him to investigate. He sent no reply. Then a man came to the door and told me to burn this journal. I refused. That night, someone locked me in my room. I heard breathing through the wall. October 30, 1864. 3 new girls arrived. One of them saw the shadows. She drew a picture of a man with no eyes and gave it to me. I asked her what it was. She said, he's the one who comes when the candles go out. I told her to keep a candle by her bed. She died a week later. December 21, 1865. They're not selling the children. Not all of them. Some are taken. Some are offered. That's the word I keep hearing, offered. There's something ancient here. Something older than the church. I think the priests serve it. The final entry was written on January 2, 1866. If you are reading this, I am gone. I've hidden this journal so the truth may live. I no longer fear for my life, I fear for my soul. This place is cursed. It is not just haunted by the dead, it is fed by them. Sacred Heart was never meant to save. It was built to give. Children, blood, silence. May God have mercy on them all. Sister Agnes disappeared 2 days later. No record of her departure. No grave. Just gone. The church claimed she returned to Maryland. But the convent there had no record of her arrival. Some say she was buried in the walls like Margaret. Others believe she was taken below, to the place she called, the offering room. After her journal was found, everything changed. The town of Auburn petitioned to have Sacred Heart declared a crime scene. A team of historians and archaeologists were brought in, but before they could start digging, the church stepped in again, this time with lawyers. They claimed the journal was fake. They claimed Sister Agnes never existed. They even offered to buy back the building. But the people refused. By 1925, Sacred Heart Orphanage was completely shut down and declared unsafe. But those who had read the journal knew, it wasn't the walls or floors that were unsafe. It was what lived beneath. Since then, locals have reported seeing a woman in a faded nun's habit standing in the chapel loft, holding a candle. Some say she whispers the names of children. Others claim she warns them, "Don't go below." The offering still waits. Who was Sister Agnes? A whistleblower? A prophet? Or just another soul swallowed by the darkness? All we know is this. She tried to save them. She failed. But her words remain. And now, so do the questions. If this part of the story shook you, press the like button. It helps us keep these stories alive. Comment your thoughts. Do you think Sister Agnes was telling the truth? Was there really something ancient beneath Sacred Heart? And make sure to subscribe for part 6, where we explore the offering room, the most terrifying discovery yet. You won't sleep after hearing what they found under the altar. Would you like part 6 now? Part 6. The Offering Room. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. You're not just supporting the channel, you're helping uncover truths that were buried for over a century. What comes next is the most terrifying part of Sacred Heart Orphanage's story. They called it the Offering Room. And once you know what happened there, you'll never see churches the same way again. After Sister Agnes's secret journal was discovered in 1924, a group of local townspeople, historians, and one brave newspaper reporter named Elliot Rayner decided to investigate. They believed the journal was real. They believed the children had not vanished by accident. They believed something dark lived beneath the orphanage. The building had been abandoned by then, its windows shattered, its pews rotting. But the altar was still in place, untouched, perfectly clean. Just as Sister Agnes had written, there was a hidden door underneath it. Rayner and the others broke through the old stone and found a staircase that spiraled downward. It smelled like damp earth and rusted iron. The air was colder than it should have been. They brought lanterns, rope, and a camera. What they found was worse than anything they imagined. The offering room was made of stone. No windows, no lights, just walls covered in carvings, not crosses or angels, but symbols. Circles inside circles, sharp triangles, eyes without pupils, ancient writing that didn't belong to any known language. At the center of the room was a stone altar. But it wasn't used for prayer. It had chains, small ones, made to hold children. There were scratch marks on the stone, and dried, dark stains that no time could erase. Behind the altar was a small tunnel, only 4 feet high. Inside, they found bones. Children's bones. Dozens of them. Some were broken, some were still wrapped in cloth. But all of them were buried with care, as if someone had tried to hide the evidence. Or perhaps, to protect the remains from something else. Rayner described it in his report. Greater than, there was no sense of peace. Only pain, only screaming silence. You could feel it in your teeth, like something wanted us gone. We were not supposed to see this. We were not meant to remember these children. The team took photographs, but only 2 came out clearly. The rest were fogged, blurred, or completely black. One photo showed the stone altar. The other showed a carving on the far wall. It looked like a man, but not a man. Tall, thin, no eyes, and arms too long for his body. Under the carving were 3 words, carved deep into the rock. He still waits. Rayner never returned to Sacred Heart again. He moved away and never spoke about it in public. But years later, his grandson found a sealed letter in his attic. It read, "Greater than, we thought we found a crime scene. What we found was a ritual chamber." The church knew. They always knew. But it wasn't just the priests. The land was wrong before the orphanage was ever built. There's something old buried here. Something hungry. In 1931, a group of Jesuit investigators was sent by the Vatican. They spent 3 days inside the orphanage. On the 4th day, the building caught fire, with no one inside. The fire burned hot and fast, but it didn't destroy the stone basement. The offering room survived, and after that day, it was sealed with concrete. They buried it, like a wound too deep to stitch. But strange things kept happening in Auburn. Children who wandered near the ruins said they heard chanting. Locals saw a figure standing where the altar once stood, tall, still, with arms hanging low. Some even claimed to see children's faces in the smoke when candles were lit inside the old chapel. People stopped talking about it. The church denied everything, and the records of Sacred Heart were locked away. But sometimes, the truth refuses to stay buried. In 1987, a team of urban explorers broke into the ruins. They found the old staircase, smashed through the concrete, and one of them went missing. His name was Caleb Warren, just 17 years old. His friends said he went down alone with a flashlight. They heard him scream. When they followed, they found only the flashlight, broken, and a wall covered in fresh carvings. The same 3 words. He still waits. So what was the offering room really? A place of ancient worship? A forgotten chamber of sacrifice? Or something even older, something that fed on the innocent, using religion as a disguise? Some believe it was a portal. Others say it was the heart of something demonic. But everyone agrees, it was never meant to be found. And now that we've opened the story again, he is listening. If this part chilled your bones, hit that like button. Let us know in the comments what you believe. Was it human evil, or something darker? Subscribe so you don't miss part 7. The Smoke in the Mirror, where the curse of Sacred Heart spreads beyond the orphanage, and into the lives of those who tried to expose it. Some secrets don't want to be shared. But we're going to share them anyway. Ready for part 7? Part 7. The Smoke in the Mirror. Before we begin, hit like, subscribe, and share if these stories are keeping you up at night. What's coming next might not just scare you, it might make you question what's watching you, through your mirror. After the discovery of the offering room, everything changed. But not in a good way. The story of Sacred Heart should have ended with the fire. The Vatican sealed the chamber. Locals avoided the ruins. The world moved on. But the curse did not die. It spread. And it followed those who got too close. Elliot Rayner, the reporter who uncovered the offering room in 1924, never spoke publicly again. But his grandson, Owen Rayner, grew up hearing whispers of it. In 1989, Owen, now a college student, found the sealed envelope in his grandfather's attic. Inside was the confession, the photographs, and something strange, a shard of mirror, about the size of a coin, wrapped in velvet. There was a note, greater than, do not stare into it for long. He watches through the glass. Owen thought it was nonsense. Until the dreams started. He began seeing the altar in his sleep. Always from a child's height. Always chained. Always cold. Sometimes, he would wake up with bruises on his wrists, as if something had held him down. But the worst part was the mirror. It began to fog, even when there was no heat. Even when he was nowhere near it. And sometimes, in the fog, he saw a figure. Tall, thin, watching. At first, Owen thought it was just trauma. Family stories. An overactive mind. So he did what any modern man would do. He recorded himself sleeping. The footage from the first night was quiet. The second night, still. The third night, the mirror moved. Not just a reflection. It tilted by itself, though it wasn't on a hinge. And in the background, for just a moment, something passed by. No footsteps. No sound. Just a shadow. Long arms. No eyes. Owen took the footage to his college film professor. The professor laughed it off, until he vanished 3 days later. The police found his apartment empty. But the bathroom mirror was shattered. And written on the wall, scratched deep into the glass. He still waits. By now, Owen was terrified. He contacted paranormal investigators, historians, even local priests. One man answered. Father Linus Corwin, an old Jesuit who had studied forbidden texts and Vatican cover-ups. Father Corwin came to visit Owen. He took one look at the shard and turned pale. Greater than, this is from a mirror that once hung in the offering room, he said. Those children, they didn't just die. They were used. Their fear became fuel. Their last moments were captured in glass. Owen asked what he meant. Greater than, there are old beliefs, Corwin said, that mirrors can trap souls. But sometimes, they can also release what was hidden. That shard is not just a reflection. It is a doorway. And every time you look into it, you let a little more of him into this world. Owen asked how to destroy it. Corwin shook his head. Greater than, you can't. You can only contain it. Or bury it. But before they could decide, the mirror disappeared. That night, Owen's apartment caught fire. He escaped with burns on his hands. Father Corwin was not so lucky. He was found in the bathroom, face pale, eyes wide open, hands clutching the shattered sink. And on the bathroom mirror, written backward, I see you, .. After that, Owen vanished from public life. But 3 years later, in 1992, a strange package arrived at the Auburn Public Library. It had no return address. Inside was a sealed letter, a copy of the offering room photographs, a mirror shard, taped to a cardboard square, and a warning, greater than, do not display this. Do not stare. He waits for eyes to meet his through the glass. The librarians locked it away in the archives. But not before one curious janitor, Thomas Gleason, took a peek. He said it looked like an ordinary mirror piece. Until he blinked, and saw a face behind his own. Not human, just bone and shadow, with teeth like needles and arms that reached out of frame. Thomas quit his job the next morning and left town. He never came back. To this day, the library claims they lost the package. But those who've worked in the archives say otherwise. They've heard whispers behind the shelves. Seen fog on mirrors in rooms without heat. And once, on Halloween night, a group of teens dared each other to sneak in. Only one made it back out. She couldn't speak for 2 weeks. When she finally talked, all she said was, he smiled at me. So now we ask you, if a mirror shard could carry such evil, how many others are out there? In antique stores, in old boxes, in your attic, how many times have you stared into a mirror and seen something not quite right? A flicker in the background, a shadow over your shoulder, a second pair of eyes. Maybe it's just your imagination. Or maybe, he's watching you. If this part haunted you, tap that like button. Leave a comment with your theory. Is the curse bound to objects? Or is it a spirit looking for its next victim? And don't forget to subscribe, because in Part 8, The Last Orphan, we uncover the secret survivor of Sacred Heart, and how she lived her whole life hiding from him. The past is not finished with us. Ready for Part 8? Part 8, The Last Orphan. Before we begin, remember to like, subscribe, and comment if you've been following this dark story. What you're about to hear isn't just terrifying, it's true. And it's been hidden for nearly 100 years. In 1997, a nurse named Janet Morris worked the night shift at a care home in upstate New York. One of her patients, Miss Margaret Ainsley, was 104 years old and rarely spoke. Most thought Margaret had dementia. She would mumble in Latin, scream in her sleep, and stare at the mirror for hours without blinking. But one night, Margaret said something strange. As Janet adjusted her pillows, the old woman grabbed her wrist and whispered, greater than, he's still hungry. And I'm the last one left. Janet asked who. Margaret looked at her with foggy blue eyes and whispered a name. Sacred Heart. Janet didn't understand at first. But over the next few nights, Margaret began talking more, especially when the moon was full. She spoke of cold halls, children crying, and an altar with chains. Janet thought it was just a story. Until Margaret said, greater than, they called me Hope. I was the only one that ran. Janet searched old records. And there it was. In 1912, Sacred Heart Orphanage burned down. Of the 43 children living there, only one name was listed under, status unknown. Hope Ainsley. And now, 85 years later, That girl was lying in a nursing home bed, barely alive, but very much aware. Janet visited Margaret every night, recording her stories. This is what she learned. Hope Ainsley had come to the orphanage in 1910 after her parents died of influenza. She was 6. The nuns were strict, but the nightmares were worse. Children disappeared. Voices came from the chapel at night. One by one, her friends vanished, always on the same day each month. Hope was different. She could hear things, feel things, and one night, she heard a whisper telling her to run. So she did. She crawled through the laundry chute and hid in the basement. That's when she saw them. The sisters, dressed in black robes, standing around an altar, and a child, her best friend, Sarah, chained to it. Hope never told anyone what she saw. She escaped the fire that same night, hiding in the woods for 2 days until a traveling merchant found her. She gave him a fake name. And from that moment on, Hope Ainsley became Margaret Ainsley. She lived in silence, changed towns often, never looked in mirrors, never had children, and never spoke of what she'd seen. Until now. Janet was shaken. She went to the library, searched the archives, and found a photo of the Sacred Heart class of 1911. There, in the back row, was a girl with bright eyes and long braids. Hope Ainsley. It matched the birth records. And the shape of her eyes. Identical to Margaret's. But Margaret's final message was the most chilling. On her last night, she called Janet to her room. Her voice was weak, but her mind was sharp. Greater than, he didn't die in the fire, she said. The ritual failed because I ran. It needed all of us. All 43. But I broke the circle. Janet asked what that meant. Margaret smiled, a sad, broken smile. Greater than, he's still waiting. And now that I'm gone, the circle can be complete. Then she pressed something into Janet's hand. It was a tiny cross, made of blackened wood. Burned, and cracked. She whispered, greater than, this was from the altar. Keep it safe. Don't let them finish it. And with that, Margaret Ainsley took her last breath. Janet cried. She thought that was the end. But later that night, as she walked home, she passed a storefront. A mirror in the window reflected her face. But something was wrong. Her reflection was smiling. She wasn't. She turned and ran. The next day, the nursing home mirror in Margaret's room was found fogged over, though the room was cold. And written in the condensation. One more to go. Janet knew what she had to do. She buried the altar cross in the woods, deep beneath the roots of an old oak. She left the nursing home job. Moved far away. Changed her name. But even today, she never looks into mirrors. She tapes over them. Avoids reflections. Because every time she forgets, even for a second, she sees him. Not in full, just a flicker, a grin, and long, reaching arms. Margaret Ainsley may have been the last orphan. But he has waited a century. And now, he's looking for a new 43. A new circle, a new offering room. Maybe not in an orphanage. Maybe not with chains. But in spirit, the ritual never ended. If that chilled you, smash the like button, and leave a comment. Do you think Janet will survive? Or has the curse already started again? Subscribe for part 9. The New Circle, where we reveal how the numbers have started matching up again, and how modern disappearances may not be random at all. The shadows are counting, and they're almost done. Let me know when you're ready for part 9. Part 9. The New Circle. Before we begin, like, subscribe, and comment if this story has chilled your spine. What you are about to hear isn't just a story. It's a warning. After Margaret Ainsley died in 1997, Janet Morris vanished. She left behind no forwarding address. Her apartment was found clean, almost empty, except for one thing. A piece of paper pinned to the bathroom mirror. It read, "Do not finish the circle. That should have been the end." But in 2021, a podcast host named Eli Carter was researching old unsolved disappearances in upstate New York. His focus was on children who vanished between 2001 and 2020. There was one detail he couldn't ignore. Every 18 months, exactly 2 children would disappear in a 30-mile radius near the original site of Sacred Heart Orphanage. At first, he thought it was just coincidence. But then he looked deeper. 2001, 2 kids missing, ages 6 and 8. 2003, 2 more, 7 and 9. 2004, 2006, 2007, all the way to 2020. Always 2 at a time. Always near Sacred Heart's ashes. By 2020, the count was up to 42. And that's when it hit him. 43 orphans were meant for the ritual in 1912. Only 42 had died. Hope Ainsley escaped. She broke the circle. Now, the missing children formed a new count. And 1 child was still missing. The final piece. Number 43. Eli released his podcast episode, titled, The Sacred Number. Who's Next? It went viral. People thought it was fiction. Until a mother from Albany emailed him. Her daughter vanished in 2018. The police had no leads. But the mother remembered something strange. Before she disappeared, she kept drawing a black chapel. She said there was a woman in her dreams with no eyes. And chains on the ceiling. Eli started digging again. He contacted other families. 7 different parents said their kids had been drawing symbols, circles, altars, and a face with sharp teeth. None of them had ever heard of Sacred Heart Orphanage. Then Eli found something terrifying. In the woods near the old orphanage site, kids from a summer camp found a burned wooden cross, buried under an oak tree. The same cross Margaret had given to Janet. It had been dug up. Someone, or something, was trying to complete the circle. And then came the message. On Eli's podcast voicemail, someone left a recording. It was a girl's voice. She said, I'm number 43. He wants me to finish it. Then came screaming, and the line went dead. Eli sent it to the police. They traced the call to a payphone in a town called Granger Hollow, 12 miles from Sacred Heart's ruins. But when police arrived, the phone was smashed. Burn marks on the ground. No footprints. Only ash. Eli went quiet for 3 weeks. Then, he uploaded one final podcast episode. His voice sounded weak. Afraid. He said, the circle is almost complete. The girl from the call. Her name was Lily. She was taken last week. That makes 43. Then he paused. I don't know what happens next. But I found something in my mirror today. Not a message. Just a smile that wasn't mine. He ended the episode with this. If I disappear, burn the cross again. Break the altar. Stop the offering room. Or he will rise. Eli hasn't been seen since. His apartment was locked. Inside, the police found only one thing out of place. A mirror, shattered from the inside. Now, something new is happening. People near Granger Hollow report hearing children laughing in the woods at night. Black-robed figures near abandoned churches. Dreams of an old orphanage, with candles that never go out. One local woman said, my daughter woke up screaming, saying, the offering room is waiting. She's never heard those words before. But she keeps drawing chains and altars. The Sacred Heart ritual was never stopped. It was only delayed. Now, the new circle is complete. But the question is, what was the ritual for? Why did they need 43 children? What happens now that the number is reached? Some say it was a summoning. That deep under the foundation of Sacred Heart, something old and hungry was waiting. And the offering room, it wasn't just a chapel. It was a door. And now, that door is open. If you made it this far, like this video, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. What do you think the ritual really was? Have you ever seen something strange in a mirror? Stay tuned for part 10. The Door Beneath, where we uncover the last mystery buried under Sacred Heart, and the chilling truth about what waits behind that door. One final secret, one final scream, dash dash dash. Let me know when you're ready for part 10, final part. Part 10, The Door Beneath. Studio microphone. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Your support helps us keep the stories alive, and the darkness at bay. Dash dash dash. No one had stepped inside the ruins of Sacred Heart Orphanage since the last fire in 1958. But in late 2023, a group of paranormal researchers, known as the Hollow Veil, went looking. They didn't believe in the story of 43 children, or the offering room, or the black-robed figure seen near Granger Hollow. They wanted proof. What they found was worse than any proof. They found a path beneath the earth. Dash dash dash. One night in November, the team camped near the foundation. They were scanning for underground cavities when their detector picked up something. A large hollow chamber beneath the site, roughly 20 feet below. It wasn't on any building records. No blueprints showed it, so they dug. Only a few feet down, they hit stone. Not natural rock, carved steps, old, cracked, covered in ash. One of them whispered, "Greater than, this wasn't just a building. This was a gate." Dash dash dash. They lit their lanterns and stepped inside. The passage was narrow, cold, and silent. Along the stone walls were scratches. Not from tools, from fingernails. Children's. One name appeared over and over again. Greater than, Hope Ainsley. And beside it, greater than, do not finish the circle. Dash dash dash. At the bottom of the stairs, they found it. The offering room, still intact. A circular stone room, blackened by time. Chains dangled from the ceiling. Candles, somehow untouched by dust, lined the walls. And in the center, an altar. Stone, cold, covered in symbols. The number 43 carved deep into its front. And behind it, something strange. A large iron door, half buried in the wall. No handle, only a symbol above it. A child's face with hollow eyes and an open mouth. It looked like it was screaming. Dash dash dash. One of the researchers, Lauren, touched the door. Immediately, she screamed and collapsed. She began speaking in a voice not her own. Greater than, he is not a man. He is not a god. He is what was here before us. The others pulled her away. Her eyes were white, her fingernails turned black, and she said one final thing before fainting. Greater than, now that the 43rd has been taken, the door is unlocked. He walks at dusk. He drinks what's pure. He wears the face of children. Dash dash dash. They left that night, terrified. The next morning, Lauren was gone. No sign of her. Only a handprint on the inside of their car window, from the outside. It was small, like a child's. Dash dash dash. Since that day, strange reports have spread across New York. Children sleepwalking to empty fields. Black eyes in mirrors at night. A man with a stitched mouth walking into lakes, but never coming back up. A whisper heard in churches. The offering is complete. Dash dash dash. People say Sacred Heart was never about orphans. It was about feeding something old. And now that the offering room has been activated again, he is free. But not just in Granger Hollow. Anywhere where someone dreams of an altar, or draws the face of a screaming child, he can follow. Dash dash dash. In March 2024, a child in California vanished. She left one note behind. Greater than, he's not done. He's just starting again. She had never heard of Sacred Heart. But under her pillow was a wooden cross. Burned at the edges. Dash dash dash. So here's the final truth. The door was never sealed by fire. It was sealed by innocence. By the escape of Hope Ainsley in 1912. But now that all 43 have been taken, the door beneath Sacred Heart stays open. Dash dash dash. So if you're listening, if you hear laughter in the woods, if you see drawings you don't remember making, if a mirror shows something that shouldn't be there, run, because he wears the face of those you trust. He smiles with teeth too many. And if you dream of chains on the ceiling, it means you've been chosen. This is the end of the Sacred Heart Orphanage story. But maybe it's the beginning of something else. Something darker. Something waiting. Megaphone call to action. If this story chilled you, hit like, tap subscribe, and share it with someone who dares to listen in the dark. Leave a comment below. What would you do if you saw the face of the offering man in your mirror? And remember, don't complete the circle, don't speak his name, and don't ever follow the laughter.